Our next speaker is Alex Till. Alex is the chair of the National Enterprise Network and the CEO of Mentor, and an expert in small business support and growth. And he's not going to talk about this, so we've heard this. He's going to talk about who supports the supporters.
Superb, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. One of the interesting things is I'm not a researcher, okay, and I'm not a politician. And one of the things I do is I deal with things in reality. So one of the things I want to talk about today is some of the stuff that we've been doing as a chair for the National Enterprise Network, but also from my own experience of working with those very organic businesses, and as Monda said earlier, the everyday businesses that are out there in the UK PLC. So, safeguarding the UK's micro business infrastructure. It all sounds very, very jolly. The National Enterprise Network is focused on those with under 9 employees. The sweet spot with those under 5. Okay, why? Because that's what we see lots of. The sole traders up to 5. The ones with the energy, the ones with the impact, the ones which want to get things done and make the world work for them. Okay? Not about high growth, not about high tech, it's about making it work for them. And some of the interesting dynamics which we work with is quite significant, and we'll touch on this in a moment. So who knew about the National Enterprise Network? Hands up, did anybody know about them? Hey, that's good, that's good. Are you aware that we've been here for 40 years? Okay. All right, they've been kicking around for 40 years, delivering enterprise support. Way, way, way back in the days of Business Link, okay, which many of you guys will be aware of and have experienced. They were there to energize and reinvigorate those who had self-employment ambitions. Okay, we support startups, micros and small businesses through the network. We champion early stage enterprise and inclusive economic growth. That's focused on skills, enterprise, and employability, but in front of the employability, I like to put self when we have those discussions with DWP. There is a self-employment option which sits within it. We cover the country, okay? From Leeds, Newcastle, Manchester, right away down to Plymouth, Devon and Cornwall. We mentioned earlier, is there a network of people that are supporting others which are out there? Yes, there is. Probably the best kept secret. Okay, we're not for profits. Doesn't mean we don't like money, just means we reinvest it back into supporting early stage businesses. When there's not funding available, some of us have premises. And those premises generate an income so that we can continue to deliver in the environment in which we're all passionate. We've worked in the last 5 years with 68,000 pre-start clients, okay? We haven't mentioned pre-starts today at all. We don't all land on the planet as adults. We're not all big companies. We're not all there suddenly thrusting with 20 staff. So how do we develop that pre-start environment? Having a chat with some of you when I was here earlier, we're saying, we're doing work in schools. Okay, who funds it? Oh, we do it pro bono. Why are we not putting that credibility back into the spaces where we want to? Why aren't we funding things which are absolutely fundamental to the UK to enable us to create the energy, the vibrancy with those young people which we want to start looking at whether they go into self-employment, starting a business, high growth? Where do we want to take it to? If we don't give them the ideas, if the teachers haven't done it, they can't talk about it. And we're seeing this as a bigger and bigger circle. I delivered a session recently to 30 young people. I was told they were young people before I told they were the troubled young people who couldn't get any work experience. We wandered into the classroom. There's these 30 children there who look very excitable. And the first thing the teacher said was, sit down, be quiet, don't ask any questions. Okay? So I completely threw that out the wall and said, if you want to wander around, wander around. If you want to ask me some questions, ask me some questions. In fact, you will get a prize for the more questions you ask me. Because we can't learn by being quiet. We can't learn by not doing anything. And the reason that they were told to sit down and be quiet is because that's how they were conditioned. Me, probably undiagnosed ADHD, can't sit down at all. So I'm quite happy to wander around and keep discussing. But we've got to look at where the environments are which we're working. If we don't understand the environment, we can't deliver what we need. And if we can't deliver what we need, how can we grow the economy? We've created 133,000 new businesses, established businesses. We've created 19,000 new businesses and we've created 22,000 jobs from a bunch of not-for-profits all over the country doing stuff. Okay. So the UK has 5.5 million micro, small, new and emerging businesses. We saw that earlier. Most are community-rooted. Back to Monda's point, they are family-run, trade-based or service-led, embedded within communities. They're not out there on their own saying, I'm a high-tech, high-growth business. He might go, I'm a plasterer. Okay, what was your sales like? Yeah, I did £250,000 this year. And I've taken on 2 apprentices. And I'm supporting another couple of families down the road because I bring the guys in when we need them. We don't always look at the reality of what generates the funds and how it works. We drive local economies' employment far more than high-growth sectors alone. But when we look at government funding, it's all around high growth. It's all around tech. We even have things called growth hubs. Not knocking them out, man. But they're called growth hubs, and the people we work with do not want to engage with them. It's not about growth, Alex. I think it might be, but you just don't take yourself into that space. It's all a bit shiny door going on these programs. I just want someone to help me with marketing. The reality is that people need, as I call it, swearing partners. Someone to discuss things with, someone to have a chat with, someone to give them validation. And I know that we're all saying digital first, but there's a hell of a lot of nonsense out there in the digital environment. And ChatGPT doesn't really help with your business plan. So the NEN, the National Enterprise Network, supports businesses at the earliest, most fragile stages for the greatest impact. We've invested millions, not that anybody's asked us. ERDF. UKSPF, all of the other wonderful acronyms we've had for funding coming in from all sorts of areas. Most of them needing 45% match funding. Most of it was put in by the agencies which were passionate through their surplus. But no one ever asked the questions. They've continued to deliver despite funding uncertainty and reduced government investment. How many pre-start business funds are there out there at this moment in time? Very little. Early stage growth, maybe, but not pre-start. Where do people generate their ideas? Where are their role models? Who can they go and talk to? The NEM members are DBT approved every year. We have to go through to show that we are still working towards our MEMS and Rs. And that's a big push there, Angelina, to get us onto the Small Business Growth Service digital platform, please. And with rising costs, shrinking contracts and policy shifts now threaten their ability to operate. Why? Because with devolution, because with local government review, because of new budgets, everybody's saying, what's happening? Local authorities are saying, wait till the mayor's elected, they'll have some funds. But in that meantime, people are spending cash on what they're passionate about for their businesses. And sadly, it's going to run out at some point, unless we start looking in other areas. So my question, who supports the supporters? So where's the impact? Local authorities seeking trusted early stage support. Go to the enterprise agencies. They'll help you. Wow, no funding. Department for Business and Trade, referral pathways. Go to the enterprise agencies. DWP, want to start a business? Go have a chat with the enterprise agencies. Private sector, wanting expertise? Go and have a chat. The probation service recently got 18 guys just left prison. Can they come on one of your programs? Well, actually, we haven't got a program running. But I'll tell you what, we do it pro bono. Ministry of Justice, bank financial institutions, colleges and universities and growth hubs all refer into enterprise agencies and the National Enterprise Network. All of those are expecting the not-for-profit infrastructure to sustain all of those needs. It's not doom and gloom, it's just a statement of fact. We don't receive any government funding. We live and breathe like every other small business in terms of hustling for cash. Looking at 18 months ahead of where we're trying to be, trying to maintain staff, salaries, skills, and Quality advisors who are accredited and non-biased. It's a changing marketplace. We must tender competitively like any other small business, when actually it should be a co-created model of business growth. We should see what's needed. It shouldn't be tendered. It should be about economic generation within your particular locality areas. We operate under financial pressure while delivering public good. And surpluses are always reinvested, unlike private sector providers and those who win the tenders, which is another big piece for when we're looking at contracting and positioning ourselves. So without intervention, or looking at how we address this, and this is what the conference is about today, looking at who support it, we risk losing a 40-year-old trusted enterprise support system. That's the reality. I've got guys ringing me saying, Alex, I'm not quite sure what's happening after March. Okay. Talk to me. Devolution? Is that coming on board? New mayor coming in? How does it fit together? Where do you see the problems? Where do you see the funding? What's being delivered? How are we going to enable it to happen and continue to be delivered in the way in which we want it? And the foundation layer of business information, more than anything else, the pre-start to early stage business, where ideas become viable and can be tested, is at risk. So all of the things we've talked about today, in terms of saying, yep, startups, community-based, Mondo, we brought in community infrastructure organisations. That's fantastic, but if we can't sustain those organisations that are there, what's going to happen? It's all going to fall on itself. So this puts the pipeline for growth, innovation, job creation in jeopardy. We all have to start somewhere. We all have to have the ideas, we all have to have the integration, the engagement, and someone to talk to about it, because this isn't sorted online. And losing this infrastructure would undermine national economic ambitions for decades. It's all very quiet, a bit somber, sorry. So why does it matter now? Government productivity goal depends on 5.5 million small and micro businesses. These gains aren't possible without early stage startup support, a role only enterprise agencies at this moment provide. We have a lot of consultants out there. We have a lot of people who say they will do it. There are a lot of people who pay for businesses to create dependency on them. Enterprise agencies try to deliver services free at point of contact, or very low amount if they can get it funded. That means anyone can access it at any point that they need. So once lost, trusted community-rooted advisory capacity cannot be rebuilt quickly or cheaply. If you've already got something there, why do we need to reinvent? If we've already got structures which have worked well, which have generated ranges of businesses, ranges of skills, and ranges of opportunities right across the board from 12-year-olds up to 70-year-olds, why are we trying to change it? This isn't about how much turnover. It isn't about whether or not it's high growth, whether it's overseas, whether it's going to be delivering in a global market. This is the reality of UK, in England. What are we going to do and how are we going to deliver it? And safeguarding the sector is vital for inclusive growth, regional prosperity and economic resilience. Just as a fact, we've got 85,000 people in prison at the moment, okay? And some of those are being released early. Some of those will never get jobs. So what are they going to do? A lot of them are looking at self-employment. In a few years' time, most of those who have got a custodial sentence will only be serving a third of the time in prison. The rest that we back on tag in the community, trying to be supported. There are more and more people asking for self-employment support. Now, I'm not saying that these are bad guys. Some are very entrepreneurial across many different ways. But it's about harnessing it, enabling it, and engaging with it. And this is the community reality. We need to be looking at it at a community level. Nothing's not stopping them growing their business, developing their business, or seeing where they can take it to, but they're going to need the support to get them from one institution into another and enable that growth and that economic opportunity. We talked earlier around Connect to Work, Get Britain Working campaign, etc., etc. Yeah? 85% of those furthest from the labour market are trying to get back into some form of positive destination. And when I asked the question of government, they said, oh yeah, it goes into the small businesses, Alex. What, the 5.5 million who just had the national employers' national insurance increases, the minimum wage increases, business rates increases, not necessarily sure they're ready for it. Is this the reality? And whilst we're on this question, and we talked about it earlier, about sole traders not actually taking a salary or getting paid what they should, how do we determine whether the owner-manager gets paid minimum wage? Because if they stretch their hours longer and they take less money to pay for the staff, which they are saying have got less skills but being paid more, who actually quantifies that? Who actually asks the question, how much do you get paid? Because if they suddenly fall out of passion, 5 minutes, goodness me, thank you very much, I'll shut up. If they fall out of love and passion with their business, then it's likely that the rest of those individuals in their organisation will either end up on benefits or not working. So we have a very big dilemma coming up. I've got to rattle through my slides. Oops, and I've switched it off. There we go, we're back on again. Look at that. So, private providers tend for profit, but not local reinvestment, which is what enterprise agencies do. They're often subcontracted after awards. We've seen large organisations come into territory, take the contract, not be able to deliver because they're not local, and then say, we'll offer you the funds to deliver it at a very reduced scale. We're seeing that more and more and more because there are less funds and less opportunities. But the biggest thing for us at the moment is the business rates policy. It's a critical threat. Is anybody aware of it? There's some stuff in the Telegraph. You're aware of it, Jane? Basically, the managed workspace, which is being focused on at the moment, whereby we look at easy in, easy out terms, maybe month in, month out, for those businesses to progress from one area to another, from home, small office, before 3-5 year lease agreements, is being reviewed. The Valuations Office is saying that they're going to be looking at single sites, so that they will value the whole site, and then the landlord will need to push that cost onto the small businesses within it. They will then not be able to be exempt from business rates. That is live. I don't know if you're aware, Jane. It's live, whereas some clients we're working with who have already been told what their rateable value is, and the sad part about it is that that is now being backdated until 2023. So one organisation has a potential liability of £400,000, which will wipe out the sector even more from where they were using their premises to actually fund their business support delivery. Now, this is a live activity. I was on a call yesterday around it. No one quite knows how it's going to spread or when it's going to happen, but it is live from the Valuations Office. So it will have an impact on incubators, accelerators, managed workspace, co-working spaces, and we need to be aware that that will suddenly hit a whole range of other organisations which will be working within those spaces. So that's live. That's the reality of it. It's not research, it's happening. They want us to be pleased that they didn't backdate it until 2017, so 2023 seemed to be a reasonable offer. So, why this matters to UK economy. Small businesses employ 13.1 million people, 47% of the workforce. SMEs generate 51.2% of the UK turnover, which is 2.8 trillion, and 94% of businesses are actively trading. Flexible workspaces are essential for collaboration and growth, and the not-for-profits reinvest their surplus from these managed workspaces. How long have I got?
About 1 minute.
About a minute, right. So, dun, dun, dun. So, uncertainty is disrupting 2026 planning for small business. Collaborative hubs are essential for modern work and are under threat. Instability is growing in a sector still recovering from COVID, and confidence among operators, founders and local economies is weakening. So, worst case for us is the loss of not-for-profit agencies that reinvest directly into communities, and early-stage business support systems are lost. There we go, Jane.
Sort of clapping that didn't really feel like the right thing to do. Yeah. But I think, thank you for that. And of course, it echoes the messages that came from the businesses in the panel after lunch, which was around, you know, things that stick around, stability. I guess we'll just take one question, maybe, if there is one. Yeah.
Hi, Alex. Good to see you again. One question which I found really important, the point you made about the loss of community-rooted business advice, and that it cannot be cheaply in any form replaced. Has anybody done a social value and social impact assessment of the value of this community-rooted support?
Not one in the UK as far as I'm aware. I know that there's been stuff done over in Amsterdam and there's also been stuff done in Sweden. I'm following some of their models quite closely to see how they manage that impact, but also how they start to fund some of their programs. Sweden, interestingly, I was over in Stockholm looking at how they manage their municipality areas over there. And some of the funding they look at is 50p per working age population, and they're getting it matched by private sector funding. They then look at how that has the impact not only around incubators and cluster models, but also about how that can drive the skills agenda. So it becomes industry embedded. It's a fascinating model, one I think we should be looking at within the UK rather than America and places like that, because it actually drives economic growth in a significant manner. But as far as I'm aware, there isn't any impact reports which are done around business advice.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Okay. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.